Welcome to a weekly movie talk on a Friday. Today we're gonna talk one of my favorite, probably second favorite horror movie of all times. My favorites being the original Suspiria by Dario Argento, but today we're gonna talk Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. Uh, One of the most awesome Lovecraftian movies, but we're gonna dive more into that later. The influence of H.P. Lovecraft and other pulp writers on this movie and other Fulci flicks. But first, we're gonna talk a little bit about the movie. And as always, I welcome my co-host and good friend Sean. Hey, Sean, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad you recommended the movie. So, I've seen some of Fuji's movies before, but not this one. So, look forward to talking about it.
Yeah, of course, Lucio Fulci, the late great Lucio Fulci, like has a filmography. Like you basically can just publish a book just by naming the titles of movies that he did. Like sometimes like he did 3 to 4 movies a year. He loved movies, and also he was a big H.P. Lovecraft fan. So of course, a lot of his horror movies were very much influenced by H.P. Lovecraft. But he also did comedies. He did spaghetti western, like especially the Fantastic Massacre Time. Yeah, he also did some erotic stuff. He did some giallo, and yeah, most famous, of course, he is for the horror movies. And The
Yep.
Beyond, being done in 1981, is part of the Gates of Hell trilogy, which the first one was from 1980, City of the Living Dead. Then, of course, The Beyond, and at the end, The House by the Cemetery.
One thing about this movie, and even to a certain extent, Zombie, is like he adds a supernatural element to these
Yes.
movies. Like they're more than just zombies, or Walking Dead creatures. There's more. There's much more meaning to them, and like this being the gates of hell and the rise of the dead. You know, there's a bigger emphasis on supernatural beings involved, and that's why I
Yeah.
liked about it. That's different than normal zombie movies.
He didn't even wanted to have any zombies in it. He only wanted to have the artist Schweig as the only undead character.
Yeah,
But the problem is that, of course, in the time was a big zombie wave, and the German production company that financed this movie said he had to do zombies. So basically, he just wrote the zombies quick into it. But this movie was never supposed to have any zombies.
hmm.
And they were all like the whole Gates of Hell trilogy were like supposed to be cosmic horror. Cosmic horror, of course, in the sense of H.P. Lovecraft cosmic horror, and how he described it back in the days in Weird Tales. That the fundamental premise is that common human laws and interests and emotions have no validity or significance in the vast cosmos at large. And you can totally see this theme and From Beyond. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
And it's funny that 2 weeks ago we talked. What's up, Magic Lasso? A few weeks ago we talked From Beyond and
Yeah,
how the similarities of crossing to another dimension or a hellish dimension like that. Whereas this one we don't see the dimension until the end of the movie when they crossed
yeah,
over to it, and we see elements in the painting that he was painting early in the movie and that throughout, like the part where Emily, touched the painting, and then next her hands are bloody and stuff like that. Like, yeah, we see
yeah.
that
If the
interdimensional crossover can happen.
Yeah, of course, if we don't think that they already entered a different world right when they came to the seven doors hotel.
And that's a sign right there. The hotel named the Seven Doors.
Yeah, and that what I love so much about this movie is also it doesn't take you by the hand.
No.
It gives you so much choices how to interpret this movie, which is something I really like. I think I talked in the pre-show already about it. When I watched the movie for the first time when I was a teenager, of course, it was more of the gore aspect that really led me through this movie because it has fantastic gore in it. And back in the days, I thought that the movie was a lot style over substance, which still to this day a lot of people think about. Uh, but ever since I watched Fulci's earlier stuff, like the fantastic Giallo perversion story from '69 with the beautiful Marissa Mel in it. Love Marissa Mel. This movie has such a fantastic plot. Like it has really a structure from beginning to end is perfectly planned out. So you can see in the movies that Fulci can craft a movie that is coherent. So with the Beyond, he didn't want to craft a coherent movie. He wanted to craft a movie that feels like lucid dreams and that basically adapts the non-Euclidean geometry that H.P. Lovecraft uses in his stories. And once you know that Fulci did this on choice, I think this elevates the movie even further.
It's funny you say that because I read some of the critics' reviews of it, at least from that time, and how they said the movie was disorienting and, the confusing and stuff like that. For this being my first watch through of it, I was not confused at all. Like, it didn't even feel disoriented to me. So I was kind of questioning how they felt that way because it didn't hold you by the hand, but it's not a plot that's overly confusing. Like, you get the gist of it, and if you watch enough H.P. Lovecraft films, then you get the gist of what the story is trying to tell you because you've seen this told in other versions of his people that adapted his work.
Exactly. This movie was clearly made for its target audience. So it's one of these cases when you know, then you know. Which, of course, we also have several cues in the movie. There were like the big connecting thing about the other world and this world, also the beyond and the real world, is of course the book Ibon, which was not a creation by H.P. Lovecraft, but rather by Clark Ashton Smith, which is, in my opinion, one of the big underrated pulp writers. We talk a lot about Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft, but Clark Ashton Smith was also within the cycle of writers back in the day for Weird Tales. And the great thing about Clark Ashton Smith is that Robert E. Howard wrote Cthulhu stories also for the Mythos, but Clark Ashton Smith actually wrote stories that combined the Hyborian Age of Conan with the world of H.P. Lovecraft. Nice. So the book Ibon was written by Ibon, who was a sorcerer in the Hyborian Age.
Oh, nice. That's
yeah. So like you have right, like cool you have right there a really nice Conan continuity within there.
But it's one thing that you watch enough of these movies that because I know when I saw the book, I thought it was like an alternate version of the Necronomicon, which is another book that's popped up in Lovecraft stories. It's always a book that ties these movies together into or science, or magic, and the main person who was doing the painting, who was killed at the beginning of the 1920s, he was a black magician. He practiced black magic. So there's always elements of these themes in these movies that uses, sorcery, magic, and then you got the books that people tell you not to read, but you read them and then you get fascinated by it, and you start to worship those books.
Which totally could be that the artist Schweig is a reincarnation of Ibon, because when you read the story, Ubo Safla, in which the book Ibon is the first time mentioned, it also deals a lot with reincarnation, and so it's totally a possibility. There's a lot there that the movie doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
But of course, this is like right up to interpretation, and this is the beauty about the movie. You have so many ways to enjoy it, and if you don't read into the stuff and you don't want to see it that way, you can still see it just as an awesome supernatural horror movie.
That's how I saw it, you know, and just by, like I said, past Lovecraft experiences, I know certain themes in the movie that I can connect with because I've read it, I've seen it elsewhere, and that's why the movie was enjoyable for me because it's Lovecraftian theme. It fits everything that Lovecraft talks about, and it's just, you know, the title alone, the Beyond, you know, going
Yeah.
into the gates of hell, you know, going into another dimension that no man should go. That always intrigued me as a youngin. It's like reading up on black holes and wormholes in space. It's like what type of stuff that's on the other side of that black hole, and it's always fascinating when you watch stuff. That's why the movie what was it, Event Horizon, always intrigued me because of how
Yeah.
that movie was about a black hole and a possessed ship and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed stuff like that, even if it's
That is
scary and it
also
messed
a
me up.
cosmic horror movie,
Yeah,
and I still can't believe that you threw away the original negatives, and we will never get the restored, uncut version of this movie, Sam.
I'll say when I first saw that movie when it came on HBO after the theater run, that messed me up. that thing messed me up. I did not watch that movie for like maybe over 10 years because of that. But then I was like, all right, let me man the fuck up and watch that movie again. And I really enjoyed it. It had a great theme to it. And when I found out that it was 130 minutes and they hacked it up and then lost the footage, I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that one that really pains you. But going back to the Beyond, of course, what like a legendary horror movie also needs a legendary soundtrack,
Yes.
and the Beyond was scored by the great Fabio Frizzi.
I have my
Uh,
screen on full screen. What's up, Ninja
yeah,
Benja?
Angel. And this is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. It just goes into your body. It really, it really possesses you. I listen to the soundtrack. I think once a week. It's it's really hypnotizing.
It is like it. Like I said earlier when we was backstage, it really hooks you on the sounds, the melodies, the eeriness of the music. But yet it's so fucking beautiful. You know,
Yeah,
it's like horror music done in an angel like way. You know, where it's both heaven and hell. You know, like you get this positive part of it, and then you get the eerie part of it, and I really enjoy that. And I played you a sample because I've heard that the Beyond theme earlier, and I was like, I know this beat, you know, I know. And then I went and I have the album MF Grimm did it, Elevate, and I was like, that's why I love this song even more because of the fucking hip hop sample. And that's why I love when artists sample some of the Italian music, and then you find out that that's where it originated from.
and yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes influence a movie has on the broader culture.
Yeah.
Also Europe, the band who did the Final Countdown,
Oh yeah.
their song Seven Doors Hotel is based on this movie.
Yep. I've listened to
And
that.
of course, also when we talk, Sam Raimi, like, I mean, Evil Dead trilogy, big horror fan. When you watch the originals, there's Spider-Man from 2002, and you see when Peter was bitten by the spider and he has the vision, you see the spider over the glass. He took that scene from the Beyond, from the scene in the library with the spiders. So you have a scene from the Beyond in the 2002 Spider-Man, which I think is one of the greatest homages to this movie, of course, by one of the big horror directors and horror fans, Raimi.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, I hope you will love this movie as much as we do, Incha.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, that scene with the spiders in the library is also fantastic. I mean, you can clearly spot the fake spiders.
I know. I was about to say because the bigger ones, you could tell they were being led by wires because their legs wasn't even moving at all.
Yeah, but I also have to give it to the real spiders. I think they used 7 spiders. How well they behaved next to each other.
that scene fucked me up too. they start biting his face and shit. I'm like, oh no, it's funny when he was up on that ladder. In my mind, I was like, fall, bitch, fall, fall. I was like, just fall, because then you know it's coming. And when he fall, I was like, see, he's fall. Then the spiders come out. I was like, oh shit, I ain't expect this. Like, what the fuck?
And this is also a big part. Yeah, this is also a big part of the cosmic horror aspect. We also talked before that some of the characters are just accepting their fate. I mean, he had no choice because he was falling and he couldn't move his limbs anymore, but he was still there, and he could do nothing while the spiders bit and teared him apart. So this is like a true cosmic horror, when you have to accept your fate, because in the end, nothing what you do could make you come out alive of it, because you're just a fucking human being in a world that is so much bigger than you.
Yeah, like that his death was like the worst for me because of the spiders. Like, I love Spider-Man, but I hate spiders. it's that arachnophobia effect, So when I saw those spiders, that kind of freaked me out a bit.
Yeah, for me, I think the most cruel death was for Joe the Plumber, because he was just doing his job. This poor soul.
It was cruel, but it like for me, it was just creepy cool for me, just seeing his face mutilated, his eyeball fall out. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I started laughing a bit because I liked the design. To me, old school special effects never gets old. Like, they stay relevant. To me, they still hold up, and I always like traditional special effects over CGI special effects. That's always been established here. So, but I love the kills in this movie. But the spiders, they got me. Especially when they start tearing his face apart.
Fulci was such a fantastic special effect artist that even for the low budget he had for his movies, even in the 2K and 4K versions that come now out of his movies, the effects still hold up, in my opinion.
But you know what death scene that had me frustrated was Martha's scene.
Yeah.
She see him coming out the tub, and she goes the other way towards putting her back towards the wall, and I'm like, the door right there. Get the hell out of there. I know she was like accepting her fate, but as a human being, like, it's like your brain cells just erupted and blew up, and you can't even think no more. When I'm like, I'm jetting out the fucking door. That's just me, but I knew she was accepting fate, but it just felt frustrating as a viewer. Like, the door's right there. Exit.
Which is so interesting because the actress who plays Martha, Veronica Lazar, who sadly also passed away, she played in the sequel to Suspiria in Inferno. She plays the big bad in Inferno. Spoiler alert. Martha Tenebrarum.
She looked kind of dreary in this film. Like, she had no emotion whatsoever, and like, I could see her as a baddie because she kind of looked like a baddie here.
I don't see her so much as a baddie, but I think she was already too much over the influence of the house. Because in the beginning, when we see that the protagonist, Liza, portrayed by Catriona McCall, she inherited the hotel, and the servants came with the hotel.
The eyes.
So Martha was already there as a servant. So she inherited her with the hotel. I don't know if it's the South, so I know it's probably the other way. But that's like why I think she has like been. Maybe she was like already in a state of between life and death for so long. Who knows?
Yeah, it's crazy, how she portrayed herself in this movie, and she really looked like she'd been through a lot. Like, she knows what the house means, and she's just there just to be there.
Yeah, and what I think also helps the movie a lot, and which is rare with Italian productions, because usually Italian productions sometimes just send one person to New York, make a few shots of the city, and then shoot the rest in Italy. But
Louisiana.
yeah, they shot it on site in Louisiana, like near New Orleans. Hey, we got a spam here in the chat. Jerk off, wet girls are here. Nice. Not gonna share that one now, but thank you, bot.
What the hell? I wasn't paying. I had my shit on full screen, so
Yeah.
oh
Okay.
Lord. Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
that's the beauty. You clearly getting the New Orleans vibe, and I think that New Orleans would be one of the cities in the U.S. Probably it would be the number one city I would like to see in the U.S.
I like the dislocation of Louisiana and
Mm.
stuff because Louisiana always had the vibes, you know, of eerie voodoo culture there and magic and stuff. So it was a perfect setting, and the hotel being right there, and considering what happened in the 20s, it just made for a perfect, like, this movie utilizes elements of the haunted house, this haunted,
Yeah.
dreary hotel that's been closed down for years, and just build upon it further. It's just not haunted. It's actually a gateway to hell. It's so it's a lot more than just a normal haunted house movie.
Exactly, and that's basically what also the pulp horror and Weird Tales did. They basically took the dusted gothic horror uh, of the early 20th and 19th century, dusted it off, and brought it into like a cosmic horror sense.
Yeah, I will say the opening scene where the artists get killed was really good. Like the build up to that.
Yeah.
You see Emily going through the book. You see the artist doing his painting and looking kind of dreary himself. And then you see the townsfolk coming in there ready to take him out because we all talked about witchcraft before, and whether it's male or female, they're gonna look to take you out if you utilizing black magic. And bro, they really messed him up, with the chains and skin getting torn.
Yeah.
That scene was a bit, gritty in terms of visual.
Yeah. And it's also in the beginning, when you see a lynch mob coming in the south,
It's a
you
wrap.
can also see that like that the black worker at the hotel was like not very comfortable, but it's like, whew, they're coming for him.
Yeah, because we know the South and how
Yeah,
the South was back then.
you
Whether
don't
they
want
were
to be on
Ku
the
Klux
wrong end of the
Klan.
pitchfork in the south, for
Yeah.
sure.
So, but then it goes to present day, and I like the fact that when they were rebuilding the house on the outside, the guy sees Emily with the eyes, and was it Emily? I'm trying to think.
I think that was Emily. You can clearly see that Emily is, because also in the house later, Emily is not really there. Like the house is abandoned and everything. So this is also one of the things uh, where you can interpret it yourself. Emily was she always a ghost there? Then when she's a ghost, why can she bleed? It's
I do think that she was a ghost, but she still has some physical form there. Like what's the name when the doctor went to the house and it was abandoned, and he's telling Liza that she don't even exist and stuff. Liza see her because she's tied to that house. I like her when she showed up in the middle of the road, with her dog, and warns her flat out, you best to leave.
Yeah,
And
it's also a great scene. Great
yeah,
scene.
it
Yeah.
was a great scene, and I just liked how she kept talking to Liza to I've warned you about staying, and that's when she saw the painting, like, what is this? She touches it and her hands turn bloody and she runs out because she knew now right then it was basically a wrap. You know, like they coming for her, and her death scene was really good. Like I like all
Yeah.
those corpses standing around her, and she can't see because she's blind. You know, she got the white eyes, which is another great effect in this movie. The white eyes on the people. I liked that, and you know, I like that her dog defended her until the dog
Until
turned
the
on her.
dog was also compromised. Yeah.
Yeah, the dog was compromised by the corpses, the dead corpses, and ripped her apart. So, but I really enjoyed the complexity of that character. You know, I thought that she was like that spirit guide, and I posted on my Ghostbuster page the spirit guide, and that they guide you in ways where if she's telling you or warning you to leave, you best follow that heed.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah,
you don't
totally.
follow,
It's I also see it that way that she fell herself victim to the hotel, but kept some humanity within her, and by warning Liza, she basically also sealed her fate because she clearly was then she clearly was free to kill by a higher power then. That I also like so much about this movie. You can always see that the undead Schweig and all the other minions are just chess figures, but you can never see the power that plays them.
that's a good observation. Because they're just there to be, like you said, figures to drive them towards that. That's why the hospital scene was so great, because they got driven back to the basement of the house. It wasn't like
Yes, and
it wasn't like they found the way and end up back in it. No, they were driven there. They wasn't just sent there or stuff like that. They were driven there.
this is also where the non-Euclidean geometry of Lovecraft plays in the part, because ultimately this was always the road they had to take, and it didn't matter if they wouldn't have drove to the hospital, if they would have drove to the library or whatever. Ultimately they would have ended up there.
Yeah,
It was they never had a chance. It was never their choice.
The telling sign was when they was driving to the hospital and the whole town was empty. That right there
Yes.
was the sign that, yeah, this is not going to be well. The whole town empty, nobody on the streets. That's always not a good sign.
Exactly. Yeah, that's always a big part, of course, of cosmic horror tales, where it doesn't matter where you are. In the end, you're always alone.
Yeah.
Which makes it so fantastic.
And then that quote that and you will face the sea of darkness and
Yeah.
all therein that may be explored. That's such a deep, deep quote.
Yeah, that's this works so well in the end, especially when them both are inside the painting that Schweig painted in the beginning, and that Liza later found also in the hotel. Uh, Fantastic scene, and then when you can clearly see they try to escape, and then they accepted their fate, and you had the great soundtrack by Fabio Frizzi, and then the quote being told with the soundtrack. It's such an aesthetic scene, one of my most favorite endings in horror. You can totally see that the recent horror movie The Void totally copied this ending.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, yo, this elements of The Void here with that ending. But I like this better.
Yes, Fulci was a genius. Uh, and having a movie ended like this, nowadays it's common that horror movies don't have a happy end, but back in the days when you watched the Fulci, you always knew it doesn't end well.
There's always two types of horror endings. Number one, the hero prevails, but this is an ambiguous ending because you get to see the villain either pops up again or something like that. So it's not like a true victory. There's always going to be some ending where it's like, oh, there's going to be a sequel. And then you have the ending where none of them prevail. They all die. They all fucked at the end. And I like those endings better because it's more
Yes.
definite. It's a more definitive ending as opposed to the ambiguous endings that we get in most horror movies.
Yeah, and when you see Fulci's horror movies, the actors always look a little bit dull. Like there's no actor where you think like, oh yeah, this is a hero character, which is totally bland because, like I said, these are regular people, and they never had a chance.
Yeah, they're not really like they can't fight an entity they can't see, and that's the whole point. Like you got the minions, the Walking Dead corpses, but there's an entity, there's a higher power involved, and they can't fight that. That's a loss. And the ending pretty much set their fate up, and they had no choice but to accept it.
And this is such as I always love this struggle with regular people in Fulci's movies, and it's so great when you also compare it with his work in Thriller and Giallo, where it's completely different, where he often casts very like heroic, very beautiful characters. But in his horror movies, really, the late David Warbeck, who plays Dr. John, of course, he has like some main appeal, but also he's in this movie he's just railroading.
Yeah.
Hey, Daryl, thanks for joining.
Hello, D. Yeah, like you would think he comes off as like heroic with the gun, but even with the gun, he can't really do nothing.
Yeah, it also shows that ultimately when he's out of bullets, there's too many undead. And even though Fulci never wanted to do zombies in the movie, I think the way he integrated and works within the movie so they don't stick out like a sour thumb.
Yeah, because zombies can get played out real quick,
yes,
and stuff. So it was best that he saved majority of that for the end of the movie.
And that's a great thing about a lot of Italian directors, because in the end, in the Italian film industry, basically was like, okay, there's a trend. We're gonna shoot so many movies within this trend, low cost, high reward. And within this industry, that you can still stay so creative, and that this exploitation film industry came up with so many things that that later on influenced the American film industry. It's just crazy because we talked about when we talked the Man with the Man with No Name trilogy, how this was also like an exploitation of the U.S. westerns, but in the end it trumped them and influenced the U.S. film industry so much because, of course, Italy is not playing by the Hollywood code, as we also see in this movie. You don't want to be a kid in a Fulci movie.
Man, I never thought I would have rewind so many times just to see that kid get her top blown off, man. Yeah, oh man.
Jill, played by Maria di Masala, I think. Yeah, she clearly had a bad time in this movie. First, her dad, Joe the Plumber, killed. Then she's in the morgue, and then the evil power basically knocks out her mother, and she's like on the floor, while acid falls on her and her face slowly melts away, and her daughter can only watch.
It was weird just seeing the bloody acid comes towards her.
Yes,
like it was the Blob or something.
This is also such a horrific scene. The one that you really don't want to think about, like your mother laying there slowly being melted by acid. Yeah. Like she
was mortified.
Yeah, of course. Like I think it took a long time until in the US there was an uncut version of this movie.
Well, you know how the U.S. is, and
Yeah.
this was during the time with the video nasties and things
Mm.
getting banned and stuff like that removed, and that's what made people want to hunt down those underrated, uncut videos.
We live in such a fantastic time for this, back in the days, I remember when DVDs came out, and I was getting my first DVD of The Beyond, and it was like a really bad rip from a VHS. And now we have like not only the beautiful Arrow release, but also later release by Shameless, which gives you the prologue in so many different versions, like the original, the sepia one, then the colored version, the black and white version. Also nice spider. Like we live in a fantastic time to get a Fulci movie in a 2K scan. When I was 16, I never thought I could experience a movie in this quality. I mean, I absolutely love the grindhouse flair of VHS quality, but having the choice to also watch this movie like it was shot yesterday, it's crazy, and I cannot be thankful enough that there are studios out there like Arrow, Shameless, etc., that give these movies so much love.
Yeah, they deserve it. And then you got movies that hasn't been released on Blu-ray or 4K, and it's like, what's the holdup? Like these movies need proper releases and proper editing to them to make them look the best of the quality that they are.
Yeah, the risk in, of course, is always when you remaster them that you make, of course, the effects more visible. And the other thing is sometimes because Italian movies often used a filter. They shot the movies in day and then used a light filter. And when you play too much with that, then the night scenes look like daylight because, yeah, they were shot during the day. This is one of the things I think it's quite visible in The House by the Cemetery. When you watch the original, or more like the VHS version, and the basement is so dark and so eerie, and the remastered version is a little bit too light in the basement. I mean, it's still a great remaster, but you can clearly see that the horror from the original is not really transported into the remastered version.
And it's like that with certain movies from the 70s where, like, say, for instance, Assault on Precinct 13, the scene with the windows and they attacking, that was much darker in the original VHS tape.
Yeah.
And then you see the updated one it's a lot more lights in there. And I'm like, man, it looked real dark in the original movie, so you would think it being pitch black night, not too many lights inside the building due to it being shut down, like should have been even darker, but no,
Yeah.
they had some more lighting in it.
That happens sometimes when the people who work on the remaster are more working toward that it looks great, but not truly getting when it was also an artistic choice to have it that dark.
Yeah.
But
look, I don't mind if they put both versions on the Blu-ray or something, like the original
yes, I
version
really like that.
and then the remastered edition. That way you get both qualities to it.
Exactly, like I said the last time with the German, the new release of The Last Dragon, they have the remastered version on it, and they also have the original version on it.
Nice.
And yes, the audio commentary is on it.
I'm jealous of you with that collection, man.
Yeah.
So
I would always, I always want to have also like the untempered version, which should be totally possible with a Blu-ray, because especially the low version doesn't need so much space. On some movies, it's just in the extras as a bonus to click the. Very often they call it, of course, the grindhouse version. So I would totally like this if this would be mandatory, but I know not a lot of people care so much about it than we do.
Yeah, like some movies are just left in their original versions because they just fit that style of era. You know, like I talked about Manic, and I just love that dark and gritty version of New York City. And I like the remake with Elijah Wood, but I do think the LA setting was a bit too bright.
Mhm.
But I just love the era of the 70s where everything was grimy and dark
Yeah.
and
There's
just
also
it
a
was
Fulci
very
movie
evil.
that you could enjoy if you like it, the New York Ripper by Fulci.
I've heard of that one. I need to watch that. I've been having that on my
There's
watch list for a
a
long time.
Fulci movie for everything.
I know. I know. He touches on everything.
Yeah, I have here also a poster of Conquest. This was Fulci's sword and sorcery movie, which is we also have to talk about that one in the future, which is fantastic. And of course, another movie, which I also really like, is Manhattan Baby,
Yeah.
which is
Oh, man.
also it also deals with a lot of Lovecraftian stuff, but of course also is very much inspired by The Exorcist. Also a great Fritzi soundtrack. He reuses some of the from this movie, I think, some of the themes. And if you think that the Beyond is very feels very episodic and like a lucid dream and not very coherent, uh, watch this movie. Because this is like a trip.
Man, I'm trying to load up this list and it won't load up for me.
Yeah, if you load the list of Fulci's filmography, it could be a very long loading time
I just had it up a couple days. I mean, like a couple hours ago. Now
because
it won't load.
there's nice literature on
Yes,
Fulci.
Beyond Terror.
Yeah, and of course the book Eibon, also within the Lovecraft universe, very important, which is also in the roleplay game where this also has direct quotes from Clark Ashton Smith.
Nice.
And if you ever wonder, the first appearance of Eibon, Journey into Mystery, Volume 2, issue number 3, The Shambler from the Stars. The
Tentacle
first
Cover.
mention of Eibon in comic books.
That's the second volume of Johnny?
The second volume, yeah.
Nice. Look at I like that cover, man. The tentacles and you
Yeah,
got the
of
eye
course,
at the
very
window.
Lovecraft, yeah. And it also has an H.P. Lovecraft appearance. So.
Yeah. Awesome cover, man.
And there's also a mention of Eibon in Doctor Strange, Volume 2, issue number 81.
Nice.
So there's two Eibon appearances that I know of in Marvel. What I don't get is why nobody ever used that for the Conan the Barbarian, since Eibon was an Hyborian sorcerer. It's basically there. I think it should be public domain because Clark Ashton Smith wrote this stuff in 1933 in the July Weird Tales issue. So also for comic book fans, you can get your first appearances there. Yeah, but I need to find one in a better condition because this one is clearly very warm, very well read. There is a American publisher that I think did a comic book adaptation of the Beyond. I forgot the name. I think I didn't order there because it would have been a little bit too expensive for shipping. But I don't know if they're still available, but maybe I have to print it in a trade now. But there are Fulci adaptations in comic books out there.
Nice. I mean, it's always great to adapt stuff, from Fulci, and especially considering that everybody likes to adapt stuff from H.P. Lovecraft. But
and I think it's really time also to give Clark Ashton Smith more recognition for his work, because he's a name that comes up when somebody knows pulp, but is rarely mentioned. Of like we're at a point where H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard made the jump into the people beyond the subgenre know the names. Clark Ashton Smith, not so much, sadly. But like I said, I totally recommend this by Penguin Classics, the Dark Eidolon and Other Fantasies by Clark Ashton Smith. This also, I think, this brings his whole Hyborian cycle, which, like I said before, is when you love Lovecraft and you love Robert E. Howard, and you would like to have more fantasy, sword and sorcery mixed with cosmic horror, you will eat this up.
I'll need that.
This is such a fantastic writer. Also lived a little bit longer, luckily, than Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft. I think he died in 1961. I mean, still in his 60s, I think he died, but way longer than Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard.
Yeah. Another person that took some influence, that they took some influence was Edgar Allan Poe. They definitely took some things from him. Like there's a lot of mixture of all three of those guys, along with the man you just named, and there's so much material that they can take from and build upon it.
Yeah, with Edgar Allan Poe, it's very interesting that you can totally see that there was a shift within horror adaptations. When you look at the old classic Hammer movies and other horror movies, especially with Vincent Price, a lot of them were Edgar Allan Poe adaptations. So you can see always Edgar Allan Poe's blah blah blah, but there was then, I think, the first Dunwich horror came also out under Edgar Allan Poe's Dunwich Horror. This was still in a time when H.P. Lovecraft was still forgotten after his death, and nobody was talking about the weird tales. Only later, was it in the, I think it's like the end of 70s, beginning of 80s was the time when it really started that H.P. Lovecraft was also becoming a brand. As you can, of course, see with Reanimator, H.P. Lovecraft's From Beyond. So this was the time shift when Edgar Allan Poe became like old news, and people rediscovered Lovecraft.
That's definitely the time period, late 70s, early 80s, because that's when more and more people started using his elements of stories to build their movies and stuff, and even certain aspects of cartoons was using it. So a lot of people was jumping on the bandwagon to take some of the Lovecraftian stories and explore on them and build them up. Talk about the old ones.
Clark Ashton Smith is, when you compare him with Lovecraft, quite undiscovered. And there's so much you can do with his material. And I think that the From Beyond only grasped like the beginning of what you could do with Clark Ashton Smith's stories.
Yeah. If they grab a hold of that, it's a wrap.
Yeah. Maybe I have to talk to Mahmoud that he should tell Jason Aaron to read some of the Clark Ashton Smith stuff, because it would fit perfectly into a horror Conan story.
Yeah. And Send me a picture of the book so I can look it up when we
Yeah, I
get
will
off.
do later. So yeah. And there was a German edition of From Beyond that I sadly missed when it came out, which was released in book format with the book Ibon, with the how it looks in the movie.
Oh,
I
nice.
hope I can track it once down for less than €100 because I really wanted edition. Or I hope they're gonna reissue it.
I always liked it when they actually make the books like what they look
Yes.
like in the
Also
movies
with
and
the
stuff.
Necronomicon from Evil
Yes.
Dead, those editions.
Yeah, I always liked that.
Yeah, here I also missed because there was a limited edition that came with a slipcase of the book.
Nice, man. That's probably the first cassette you showed on the live stream, considering that most of the time it's either vinyls or CDs. So,
Yeah.
so on the cassette, it's like, man, I remember when I was buying cassettes when I was young, and they were the cheapest
I
form.
remember taping from cassette to cassette.
Yep.
And to all the young people that watch, can you make the connection?
Hey, I used that pen many times when they get caught in the tape player. I gotta take it out and then.
It's the same, nowadays when you teach people about introduction into how to use a computer, and you talk with young people, and when they see a diskette, they think it's just a save button.
Kids they don't know, man. And we had a lot to deal with when it came to cassettes and VHSs and all that stuff. You know, when your VHS get caught in that VCR and the VCR eats it, oh, the horrors, man.
Yeah, especially when it's your favorite fucking movie.
Exactly, man. I was like, oh man, I gotta go to Blockbuster and rent it again.
Yeah, like people nowadays. I remember when we stayed long in school to use the internet at the school before they blocked certain sites. When we had diskettes with us, like a package of diskettes, and we filled those with naughty pictures. And one cassette had like how much? 3.5 MB.
Man, I remember going to computer class at school and having, do our computer lessons, but I'll have Doom on the side, the Doom video game.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Doom video game.
Yes,
I still play.
Yes. Yeah, that tape cassette, man, that shit get wrecked, man. Oh man.
Yeah, nobody knows the struggles we went through jerking off to low resolution porn pictures.
Yeah. And don't even get me started going to the video store and you see the adult section and stuff. You try and sneak in there, man. Your parent not looking, like, let me sneak in there, man.
That was always magical. Going to the VHS store and, of course, seeing all these awesome horror movies as a kid because they really sold it with their pictures.
Yes, I would go in the video store just to look at those damn VHS covers.
And I remember, I think it was, I don't know, like 8 or 10 years old or something, and it was a videotape with my dad. And then I stood before a wall that was full with women in prison movies.
The arena and all that.
And me standing there is like, there must be something about women in prison which is very interesting. And little did I know there's something that is very interesting.
Those were the fun days, man. I miss the video stores, man. Like there's only like maybe 2 around here now, but back in the days, it was like a video store on every corner.
Yeah, those were just, of course, today we have the luxury of having fantastic editions. We can stream them. We can buy them. Some go the pirate route. Like there's so many options to watch a movie nowadays.
Yeah,
but yet going out there and going through a VHS store, renting something, bringing it back, being so kind to rewind. There was something special about it. It really, you came home with the VHS, with a pizza, and this was something special. It was like a ritual, and this ritual is missing nowadays. We didn't have Blockbuster here, but we had like our own chain of VHS. I think was it Video Austria or something, but it it was good. I remember
It's
also when I
something like
was
that.
14, when I started business school, and our school was very close to the videotheque, which was on the way to the train station. So sometimes we went home via the videotheque. It was just magic, and I was looking up to the people that worked there. And it's like they must living their dream, working at the videotheque.
And then I would go to the mall, and you had the guys that had those little push booths. Nothing but kung fu movies, man. All the kung fu VHSs, man. That's where I got the Street Fighter. Sonny Chiba.
Oh,
My dad
Sonichiba.
got that, and man, we watched
God's
a
rest
lot
his
of.
soul.
Man, rest in peace, Sonny Chiba, man. We watched all that stuff. Then I go downtown Brooklyn, and there was an area that sold nothing but anime tapes, and that's where I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z stuff before they even aired in America.
I remember paying a shitload of money for anime on VHS.
Yes, they were expensive, man.
They were expensive. Yeah,
They were
I
expensive.
bought Urochi Doji, The Legend of the Overfiend. Uh,
And it's
talking
funny.
about cosmic horror mixed with hentai stuff and tentacles and everything. Oh, the fantastic.
And I just watched last week because I loved this growing up. Fucking Vampire Hunter D, the original.
Oh, yeah, we also got that on VHS.
God,
Yeah.
I love that movie. I watched it like last week, and I was like, "Fuck, I love this
Yeah.
movie, man."
I also remember because back in the days we all played Vampire the Masquerade, the role-playing game, and of course we sucked everything up vampire related.
Yes. Then I had my uncle got me into Fist of the North Star. That's how I got with Kenshiro and stuff.
That's also a good one.
And then
after
when
the
I first
last
saw
one was fantastic.
Akira was another one that we rented. Man, I was like, this movie is amazing.
Yeah, Akira, I think I only got really on the second go.
Yeah, it takes a few watches for you to get it, but
yeah,
I when I first watched it, it was just the animation just blew me away. Yeah. Like I wasn't even paying attention to the story. This the animation was just amazing.
Or Ghost in the Shell.
Yep, that's another one.
I remember watching it 4 years ago. The animist was they reissued the original anime in cinemas here, and I was watching in the cinema, and I think I had tears in my eyes seeing it on the big screen because it was also only remembered watching it on VHS, and also having this movie now available in 4K.
And another movie I had on tape when I was young, and this is where tape trading comes into play. You trade with friends. Your friend records you something, and then your friend might steal your tape. A friend stole my Ninja Scrolls tape, man. I was pissed the fuck off, man. But then another friend helped me out. Not only he gave me a copy of it, but he also added Dragon Ball Z movie to it. I think it was the Return of Cooler.
Nice, but that's also where the wisdom from Bronx Tale comes into play. With the lending somebody $20.
Yeah,
it's like one VHS is a very easy price to pay for an unloyal person to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I became very stingy in lending stuff out. Only person I really lend stuff out to was a guy who I knew, in high school. We would love wrestling. We would tape trade and stuff like that. I would copy some stuff that he sent me. He copied stuff. That's how. Remember when we had to have 2 VCRs to copy shit?
Yes.
I had to go borrow my mom's VHS just to copy a tape and then put it back.
Yeah, but also I have a no landing policy. It's too many bad experiences. It's
Mm.
yeah,
But yeah,
you
those are the good
can't
old days.
trust anybody.
Can't trust nobody, and
Yeah,
but those were the good old days, though, man.
yeah,
VHS tapes, CDs,
and
and cassette tapes.
it was really so tough to get the Lucio Fulci, like to get beyond on DVD. And I'm pretty sure that version was a bootleg that was released here, which like the label, I think Astro was known for just like releasing, I think, a lot of stuff bootleg VHS rips, but this was the only thing we had, and especially in Austria, we were lucky because when you look at the German Republic, their movie laws are crazy. They have like a movie
Strict,
index, so people
strict.
from over there had to buy their DVDs here
Yeah,
because they were not able to get them there.
it's like movies still banned and shit. I'm like, damn, man, it's been 20 years,
Yes,
man.
like some games. It's also when you buy a German gaming magazine, and for example, like Doom was on the index. I don't know if it's still there, but then they couldn't name it. They only always have to censored title. Hey, Ruben, cowabunga to you.
Yep. Just imagine if we were born in the 60s and got to experience that whole
That
late
would be
70s,
the
early
cinema.
80s. Oh, man.
But I'm pretty sure that also in the cinema there was a lot of cut versions. Uh, Also nowadays we can compare. Like back in the days, I remember you getting a movie and there's like, I remember another scene in there.
Yep. Yep.
We already talked about this in the past for other movies, but there was basically no way to like find out unless you could compare it. The first Evil Dead I had on VHS that I bought from a videotape when they had a sale from the old VHS. The first time I watched the Evil Dead was a totally cut version. Only later, when I got the uncut version, I was like, "This is this movie is way different."
Yeah, that sometimes that can mess you up when you you start hunting for that uncut scene. So because certain movies I have not seen this specific scene again. Like I've seen it once and I've never shown it again.
Yeah.
Like I remember the Don't Be a Menace, the Wayne's brothers.
Hey, Darth
What's
Hideous, my
what's
old
going on?
guild buddy from back in the days when we played Galaxy of Heroes.
Nice. I remember there was a scene I remember in Don't Be a Menace with the Wayne's brothers, where at the end when the shootout happening, the child pulled out a gun and shot the car. And I have not seen that scene since that time I had seen it. I was like, man, did they erase that scene from history? I could
It's
have sworn
crazy,
it
and
existed.
especially I can't think of watching a cut version of The Beyond. That's what they don't realize. Horror movies should be horrific. That's the genre.
Yeah,
Like when you watch a horror movie, uh, if you have a certain amount of terror watching it, then it does something right.
yep,
There was a great discussion also back in the days here when was concerning the cut movies on TV. Is why somebody would show a Nightmare on Elm Street on TV with all the horrific scenes cut out? Is it still a horror movie then?
I could never watch those movies on regular TV. Never.
Yeah,
Like if it ain't on a premium channel like HBO and stuff where I can see it in full, I'm not wasting my time watching on ABC because they gonna hack the shit out of it.
yeah, and the cuts are so clearly visible, especially since they don't take any regards concerning the soundtrack and the bigger composition of the movie.
Yeah, that's always been the rule, man. Never watch a horror movie on regular TV.
Yeah,
that's that's just it's a waste of time. Especially the movies where they edit out the curse words and you clearly hear somebody else's voice. Like
Yeah, which is a total even crazier, of course, when movies are dubbed, because then you have some censorship when the dubbing just uh, takes a curse word and makes it something totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching Scream also back in the days. I can't remember if I watched it in cinema or on VHS. No, I think it was the first Scream was on VHS, and then Urban Legends I watched in cinema, and also I know what you did last summer. I also watched in cinema. Fun fact that you just mentioned Scream. I tried to rewatch Scream 2 days ago. And even though I can totally appreciate the well-written script, it's an intelligent movie. It's a great satire on the whole slasher genre. But I just can't watch this teeny drama anymore. I got so bored.
I'm the same way, man. I watched the first Scream like last week, and it's just something about Scream. Like when it first came out, it was amazing, but as time
Especially
went
when
on,
especially
as
when you're a teenager and you can totally relate to it. But I
yeah,
just think I think I got too old for it to enjoy. But but you can totally see the quality behind it, and it's a good
yeah,
movie. But it didn't speak to me anymore, sadly.
it's not good when I enjoy a scary movie.
That's what I said. It's like it's so funny when you see Scary Movie, and Scary Movie did a satire of a satire, but it's like it's like I only have to. This is another thing with where he's like, do you want to like the when she said the PG-13 version.
Oh
Uh,
fuck that shit! I can't watch
because in
that.
Scary Movie there's two different cuts
Yeah, I
with
know.
the man breast and the pig breast.
Oh my god.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. When I watched it back then, I laughed the shit off the movie. I think I even have still this the Scream Stalker costume in my parents' house because we dressed up for that shit as
Ghostface.
Halloween. And Scary Movie did so great. Also, the glory hole scene was censored in the in the cinema cut of Scary Movie.
Man, the
Because
Wayne's brothers
I
can
remember I
do
watched
no
it in
wrong.
cinema, it was cut, and then I got a rip of the R-rated version back in the day in school traded. And then I watched it like, you're getting the full glory experience.
The Wayne's brothers look hilarious.
Yeah. I
Also,
think next year, also for Halloween, we gotta do a Scary Movie special.
most definitely, man.
Yeah.
There's so much of stuff. We don't even need to save it for Halloween, man. We can just randomly talk one horror
Oh, yeah.
movie a month, man. So this was a fun stream, man. Beyond was a great
So,
movie. I really enjoyed watching it. You know, especially with it being first time viewing it. You know, I've seen a few Fulci movies, but for some reason I haven't got to Beyond. So now I'm gonna definitely check out the other Gates of Hell trilogy and watch them all. But yeah, Beyond was
I
a
think
great movie.
I think you really like the House by the Cemetery because it also has a certain Reanimator vibe in terms of the Lovecraft story, not the adaptation, the other one.
Yeah.
Highly recommend watching it. When you're watching the rewind, we talked in the first 15 minutes a lot about the movie. Then we went a little bit astray, like always, which is the
Always.
magic of live streaming. The Beyond is my second favorite horror movie of all time.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Yes.
really solid movie. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, being a big Lovecraft fan and also Fulci, and I just love the atmosphere and the cosmic horror aspect of it so
And
much.
and
It's
the soundtrack, man. The
the
soundtrack is
soundtrack by
just
Fabio
perfect.
Frizzi is just wow.
Beautiful and haunting at the same time.
Exactly. And you always know you have a good soundtrack going when somebody's sampling it in their music.
Yep. And you're getting your eye poked out.
Yes, Fulci, like you don't want to be a kid in Fulci movies, and you don't want to have eyes in Fulci movies.
Gotta have
Also,
eyes.
you don't want also Zombie 2, also a great movie. If you go into the sea, there's sharks and there's zombies.
Yeah, great show overall, man. As always, I always enjoy
Yeah,
getting the
but next week
Fridays.
we have a big project talking all the Doctor Strange movies.
You sure you want to talk about the one you hate the most?
Well, it's part of it. I'm gonna watch it on stream because no way I'm gonna buy that MCU movie.
It's gonna be funny watching Dr. Mordred though, man.
Yeah, Dr. Mordred is.
Jeffrey Combs can go no wrong.
Jeffrey Combs, yeah. I mean,
Can do no wrong.
He's so great in it, and they really nailed the look of the comics. Then, of course, the animated movie, then the original from the 70s, which
that movie is hard to find. You know, the 70s one.
It came out in the UK. It came out on DVD, so I got the DVD, I think, for $5.
Damn you, man! That shit hard to find.
Yeah,
I got a site where I can watch it, but damn, it's like a ghost.
Which is great because the movie is so good, and everybody is always laughing about like the psychedelic Doctor Strange movies from the 70s. Like, have you watched it? Fantastic soundtrack, great story, awesome horror aspect.
I'll be like, have you read the Doctor Strange by Stan Lee and
yes,
that fucking art. Talk about psychedelic, man. Damn, why is his name not coming?
That was re-released in a beautiful Epic collection.
The art in that is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. I mean, of course, the when you look at it in the Epic collection, Marvel get your coloring shit together. Color behaves differently on modern paper than it did on newspaper.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's just beautiful. Yep. And the stories are really holding up.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah, so totally. Yeah, I love the shit of these Epic collections just for reading purposes. You're really getting your money's worth, especially since some of the original issues from the Strange Tales are not that cheap.
I think I brought the omnibus when it first came out. I read that in like 2 days, man. I was like, first the art, great. But his fucking name is not coming to me. Say the name of the artist. I know he passed away, and he's a legend himself. But
Fight Club, we can talk in the future.
Oh yes,
which is also a movie that grew on me slowly. I didn't like it when it first came out.
that took me a second viewing to really understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, say the artist on that Doctor Strange. The name is not coming to me for some reason.
On which Doctor Strange?
The one you just showed from the Silver Age.
That was Ditko.
Yeah, the artist. Yes, Ditko.
Ditko, yeah.
I was like, damn, it's Steve something. I don't know why my mind was drawing a blank.
I mean, my favorite Doctor Strange artist is Frank Brunner.
He's a good one. I like his art.
And also, movie tip for everybody. I know I've always given this movie tip. It's Underground Werewolf, I think it's called here. Cellar Dweller, I think it's called in the US. It's also with Jeffrey Combs. It's a love story to EC horror comics, and all the comic art in the movie is drawn by Frank Brunner.
Nice. Cellar Dweller.
Yes, and I think the movie is also on a 2 set from Scream Factory in the US. So you can get it out there quite in the cheap, and highly recommend that one. As being a big fan of Jeffrey Combs and of course horror comics.
That's another cover that I saw in the video store, man.
Oh yeah, it's a really great cover. And I also really like the actress who plays the protagonist, because she really makes her love for the old horror comics so believable.
Nice.
But yeah, Frank Brunner, probably my favorite Doctor Strange artist. Yeah, Doctor Strange is also actually is a series I came into by reading Conan. Because you also have some overlapping themes, especially with Shumagorov and Dargov and some of the Elder Gods, who already were there, of course, in the Hyborian Age. But I think with Doctor Strange, I just want to get certain keys and issues, and the rest I'm happy with the Epic Collection to read.
Hey, man, you can't go wrong with them epics.
Yeah, those are really totally recommend them.
So it looks like
sometimes with the Omnibus.
I got quite to watch next week.
Yeah, gonna be a nice. It's not gonna be like an exercise as when we talked all the Carpenter movies.
But that was fun though. That was fun. As stressful as it was watching all those movies, it made me remember some movies that I forgot.
Yeah, that was something that was the first time I had to make a schedule for planning the whole week out when to watch what and where to watch it.
Yeah, like there was some.
This movie I have on Blu-ray. This movie is on that streaming service.
Like there were some movies I didn't watch, but I wanted to make sure I watched a majority of them.
Yeah,
and it was a task, but it was fun.
Yeah, so at least with Doctor Strange, we only have 4 movies to watch.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, gonna be interesting because in the end we're also gonna rank them. So it's gonna be quite interesting how our views will differ. I mean, I can probably already tell you which is my least favorite ones because
we already know, man.
Everybody knows my view in the MCU by now. So, do you have anything planned this weekend? I think you're busy with wrestling and horror-themed events.
Yes, I am. Tomorrow I won't be live streaming. Tomorrow evening I will be at AEW Dynamite. They're doing their live show here in Orlando, so I couldn't pass it up. Me and my brother Jace, we're gonna go there and get to see an awesome night of wrestling, you know. And then Sunday, I made a last-minute decision to purchase a ticket for Spooky Empire with the main goal: meet Mick Foley, the hardcore legend. Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack. I gotta meet Mick Foley.
Exactly. And tell him, like I told you in a private message, tell him you have a friend in Austria. He tried to find your ear in Munich and couldn't find it. One of my most favorite quotes by Mick Foley is on his DVD when after Vader powerbombed him. Oh. And then he said, they asked him how he felt, and he said he felt like the lights were still on, but nobody was there.
Foley is steady, yeah, man.
Yeah, Mick Foley is so fantastic.
I might try. What's going on, man? I might try and meet Robert Englund too, if I get the opportunity, man. Freddy Krueger. Oh man.
Yeah, show your t-shirt, Puff. Show your stuff.
Vegeta, man.
Like I said, I stopped. We were talking about last week. I stopped watching wrestling, the current wrestling after the December to December.
And Wrestling Bios did the video on RVD suspension.
I watched it when there was a really good video, and
God, that was frustrating too, man. Watching that whole
yes,
ordeal.
and it was. I remember when I read the news and this. Oh fuck!
He messed
Right
up.
now, I was so hyped after the One Night Stand part 2, which the ECW One Night Stand 1 and 2 fantastic events, and yeah, then they fucked it up.
But you kind of saw it coming though with ECW, like WWE bringing that back. That shit wasn't going to succeed because it's WWE's version. So I was like,
there were dead giveaways, like with the zombie on Sci-Fi, the first episode, like.
But what made me just stop it completely was Big Show being the damn champion. I was like, no.
Oh, that was horrible.
No.
Yeah.
I agree.
And for me, you could tell that my heart for modern wrestling broke the moment when in the Extreme Elimination Chamber match, when CM Punk went out right in the beginning, where I was like, nope.
And this was, I was a fan of CM Punk in Ring of Honor with the Summer of Punk and stuff. So
yeah, that was fantastic.
That shit. I'm glad Punk is in AEW and doing well.
Yeah,
I'm look forward to seeing them come out and wrestle tomorrow if he does. So
yeah, it's always people giving a lot of crap for doing UFC. He probably should have. They should have never let him in the ring. Like you should have said, okay, we're gonna try. Let's see in sparring how we'll fare. But it was clearly a money grab from UFC that they put in there just for other people to toy with him. Kudos to CM Punk that he did it. Like, he wanted to prove himself, and he found out that having no fighting experience and being in your late 30s, not a good way to start a competitive ultimate fighting career.
No. It's like when Batista did it. I'm like, what's the point of doing that at your stage and at that age? He already started wrestling late.
Yeah. At least with Batista, it was somewhere where they gave him the proper journeyman to fight. Because I think with Bobby Lashley, way better in mixed martial arts than wrestling, because he was a charisma vacuum. Even when he was the ECW champ, you could clearly see him sucking all the interest away. which is sad, because he had the body, he had the technique, but he clearly didn't have the proper character.
Dude, as soon as he opened his mouth, man, it was over.
Yeah, so I think for him the journey with Ultimate Fighting was quite well. He was young and he had like a wrestling background. Yeah, Bam Bam Bigelow in mixed martial arts. That is one video.
That I never knew he did mixed martial arts. Bam Bam.
There's a reason why people don't know that he did it. I think there's a little bit more to it. I think he claimed he had no idea that it was a shoot fight.
What was that promotion that excelled in shoot fights in Japan?
Yeah,
that was wrestling.
We all know that all of Hogan's fights in Japan were shoot fights.
And they were better than his actual fights in America in terms of wrestling.
Of course, they were better, but Hogan claims they were actual shoot fights.
I can't believe everything Hogan say, man.
Exactly, since we all know that Mike Tyson was too afraid to step in a ring boxing with him.
Oh man, we gotta do a wrestling show one day. These off-brand wrestling show, and then like I said, I definitely want to join that Hyborian hangout. Hopefully the next time.
Yeah. And Sunday we are also having a Hyborin hangout with Gary B. We're gonna talk a little bit about what's the future of Conan for Marvel's gonna be. There's today a report has been released that apparently Savage Avengers issue 28 could be the last issue of Savage Avengers. While on the other hand, Fred Malberg, basically the head honcho of Conan Properties International, said that this is bullshit and there's going to be a new arc. Only the arc ends. So it's gonna be quite interesting because right now there's no talk of a Conan ongoing that goes beyond the new King Conan miniseries. So
Let me
it's
ask you
gonna
this
be
question: do you see Conan being at Marvel longer than these next, like, say, 5 years or more?
depends. I can if I think it really depends what's the monetary outcome for Conan Properties International, and if they would want to go the route, another route. Personally, I think that Conan Properties International could make way more money if they would independently publish Conan comics themselves or making crowdfunding campaigns from them. Maybe less people would read it, but they would spend more money on it. And despite me not want to pay like a lot, like all this crowdfunding money for Conan comics, I would totally would do it. Uh, and I think that on the one hand, you would limit, of course, the you would limit the reach of Conan beyond the core audience
Mm-hmm.
because crowdfunding pretty much is it's a niche thing for a niche audience, as we
Yeah.
see in comics. Uh, but it also has shown with the uh, with the printed issues and the sold issues of Conan comics, which in the later issues were 20,000s and below, I think, which are not good numbers. I think Savage Avengers did rather well. They had like in the early 20s 44,000 issues printed, but I mean this is like high numbers for Marvel nowadays. But you can see that all these numbers, when you compare them to the past, where comics were print, where 100,000, a print run of 100,000 was a low print run. Nowadays, or back in the days, they thought like that the milestone comics had a low print run and were scarce. Compared to what is printed nowadays, it was still a high print run. Uh, the ongoing Conan is actually quite good. King Conan is going to be awesome, but I agree that Marvel had their fair share of fails with bringing Conan back, especially the Ballad miniseries and the Valeria miniseries. The Battle for the Serpent Crown was horrible.
That that
I
that's why when Conan went back to Marvel, I had my doubts about it. Like there was conflicting interest from me about it because I'm like, when Disney got the Star Wars license, they got that mainly to do movies. So the return to Marvel for the comics was like, all right, they're gonna sell well with the comics because people are now excited that we're getting new movies. But with Conan,
little did we know.
exactly, little did we know. But that was the whole point. Disney brought Lucasfilms is to do movies. But with Conan, it's been with Dark Horse for a long time since it left Marvel in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Dark Horse has done a pretty good job.
Fantastic.
A pretty good job. It has some inconsistencies, but overall, it's had a great run with the Conan books.
and very true to the Robert E. Howard stories. And I absolutely love the way how they adapted the stories and filled the gaps with their own stuff, which was very pretty much in line with the original stories. I absolutely
And
love that run.
so
I also have it, of course, here in the omnibus. Love
yeah,
it.
you got that massive omnibus of
No,
Conan by
sadly,
Jeff.
I have the seven omnibus. I have the colossal Conan the Cimmerian. I have the colossal King Conan.
That
I
colossal
have the
King Conan
paperbacks
was
of the
fucking.
others. So sadly, I did miss out on the colossal, and it's truly colossal.
That
But
shit
also,
massive.
I think it's unreadable.
It is. I,
It
I,
looks.
I,
I will maybe buy it in the future just to have it standing there.
bro.
But even the colossal Omni be already very tough readable for
I
reading.
I
I really prefer
remember
the admin trade.
I remember reading the fucking Jeff Johns Green Lantern
Yeah.
omnibus. Them fuckers were heavy. And I was like, how the fuck am I read this shit? Now I forced myself through it because I wanted to read it to justify the money I spent on it. But that Colossal King Conan was like, nah, I can't. That's like Big Damn Sin City. Like, how the fuck is that? Who the fuck could read that shit?
Mhm. Yeah, but yeah, with the audience, that was actually the reason why Fred Malmberg ended the contract with Dark Horse. The Dark Horse stories were very great, and I think a lot of Conan purists also loved them. But the problem is that you can have fantastic stories at Dark Horse, and nobody will know they exist.
And you know,
The thing with
that's
Marvel,
why I thought those Star Wars fans that brought all those issue number ones from Marvel, I'm like, where the fuck y'all been for 20 years when Dark Horse was publishing them shits, man?
yeah,
Y'all act like Star Wars is new to comics with Marvel coming back to it. I'm like, man, Star Wars been doing this shit with Dark Horse for 20 years.
and
Where the
Dark
fuck
Horse
are
had
y'all?
some fantastic adaptations, and also fantastic new stories they told.
I feel
Like the
like
Critical Empire storyline was awesome.
yes. I feel like with Conan, like it has its audience, and its audience is always going to support it. But when Marvel tried to get it to sell it to their audience and a wider spread audience, I was like, that's not going to work because Conan
Yeah,
has its own audience, and you're not going to get your new readers or stuff to support Conan because that's not what they want. They want superhero shit. You know,
yeah,
they don't want to read sword and sorcery. That's why when they did Conan and Savage Avengers, I was like, what the fuck is this? In my mind, I was like, yo, they putting Conan with Wolverine. This shit, some bullshit. I'm like, come on, Conan is his own thing. He don't need to be with Wolverine and stuff. Little did I know the Savage Avengers would be a good title.
yeah. It's
But my mindset was like, this is some shit.
I thought the same thing. I was so ready to hate on it. Then I read it and it was great. Sadly, there are a lot of Conan fans who never give it a chance.
Yeah, because the Marvel stink.
Yeah, and I can tell one thing about us Conan fans. We are pretty stubborn lot. Some more than others, but all of us we're a little bit stubborn.
Yeah, especially when it comes to these properties, man.
Yes. So with Marvel, of course, in the beginning, the numbers went high. That's the thing which is so stupid, especially with one thing so stupid with the comic audience is like people just buying issue number one because it's issue number one.
And that's why Marvel has sucked for the last 20 years because they relaunch all their books just to get the sales of issue number one.
Yes, and
And
it's our fault because a lot of us are so stupid and oh, it's an issue number one. I give it a new chance.
I get mad at myself every time I pick up a Marvel number one because I'm like, this is already like volume 6 of the book.
Yeah, I'm very picky. Right now, the only Marvel books that I'm picking up Savage Avengers, then the King Conan, obviously. Uh, Was it that already?
I get those in trades because I can't justify that cheap Marvel paper quality bullshit, man.
I can tell. Like, there's a next point. It's like the paper is cheaper.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, but at least that Conan is not a wimp. Jim Sapp, who wrote it currently, knows Conan, big Conan fan. Jason Aaron also writes a good Conan, and luckily Mahmoud Asra, who really loves Conan, draws it. So his Conan has balls, and that's the most important.
Yep.
What really today I was replying to a post by Dynamite just with an eye roll. They're now making a miniseries for Hell Sonya, like
sick.
from the Sonya Virtual and off. I'm so fucking tired of all these multiverse stories.
It's gonna get to the point where I'm not gonna buy any miniseries from both Sonya or Vampirella anytime soon, man. Like if it's not a main title that I can read, like, or if Christopher Priest continues to run what he's doing with Vampirella, I'm not buying all these miniseries no more because it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, I will read the previews of the number one. If I'm sold, I'm gonna buy it. But even though I love Red Sonja, I'm not buying a title just because it's Red Sonja. I already skipped on the whole Red Sonja runs because they were written by Amy Chu. And I'm gonna do that shit again, Dynamite.
I don't blame you, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't need to waste money on crappy stories and miniseries that don't need it.
But this Sunday with Gary B and maybe also maybe we also have other people coming. I will send out some invites, and we're just gonna talk. What happened with Conan at Marvel in the last 3 years. We're gonna recap the titles we liked, the titles we, even as a Conan fan, we abandoned after one issue. That's what I'm always saying is, do I love to have complete runs? Yes. But I ain't gonna buy shit comics just to have them in my collection. If it's 1 or 2 issues in a bigger run, I can sacrifice. But if it's a whole shitty miniseries, I'm gonna cut that off the pull list. And that's the only way that we have an influence of what we want to read or not read, is by not buying shitty comics.
Yep. The only way. Well, we done went longer than we expected, but that's how we do in these long live streams.
Yeah,
now I'm ready to get something to eat.
Great, then have fun eating, and then more tomorrow, especially have fun watching AW, and greet Mick Foley.
Always looking forward to it, man.
And also thanks to everybody in the live chat. And I hope we see you on the future shows. Next Friday, we're going to talk all the Doctor Strange movies. There are 4 of them. Most people don't know them, but we're going to introduce them to those who didn't know them yet. And all of them, you probably don't know, are better than the MCU one.
Expect a lot of that next week, y'all.
Exactly. Because fuck the MCU. Fuck. Okay, thanks everybody for watching, and most important, have a savage weekend.
Later, y'all.